then with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I salute the flag of the state of New Mexico and the symbol of perfect friendship among united cultures. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the regular council meeting for February 26th. Following Pledge of Allegiance, the next item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. Council, I don't have any changes. I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion we approve this evening's agenda.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve tonight's agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Mayor, can we have discussion real quick?
What about?
On the agenda, I just noticed that the Purple Heart City Proclamation wasn't under the action items, and I was wondering why that is and if we could move it.
We needed a little more discussion on it.
And I just have one other question. What happened to the EPD recognition we postponed to this meeting?
Chief, go ahead.
Sorry, Mayor, Council. So trying to work with the family, get the individual in here. The officers are available. One of them's actually on duty tonight. So we're just waiting on a time. We're going to make our schedule available for them whenever they can bring him in after he's dealing with some complications later on as a result.
Okay,
So
so
once
just
he's
somewhere
cleared,
in the future.
yeah. Once he's cleared to come out here or come back from Albuquerque, we'll have him in.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Ready for the vote? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, Council. Next item is the consent agenda. That's just our town council meeting minutes from the last meeting, February 12th.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve this evening's consent agenda.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve tonight's consent agenda. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Council. Next item up is discussion items. First one is Teresa Salazar here from the Moriarty Edgewood School District.
Good evening,
Teresa.
Mr. Mayor, council members. It's good to see you. I wish you a happy 2020. I guess I haven't been here since then. I do have to say the school district family has had a difficult 2020, but we appreciate the support that everyone has given us, and we're trying to keep it all the wheels on the bus. So, but we're making it happen. Several things are going on. We will be developing an equity council, which is the New Mexico PED's response to part of the Yazzie Martinez case, which we will be a subcommittee of the Superintendent's Advisory Council, and this will be looking at equity for bilingual students, students in poverty, special education students, Indian Education Act, and that group. So we are excited about that and the potential of that and looking at that data as we move forward. So we will be starting that in the next month and starting our meetings. We do have some exciting things to celebrate. 3 of our pre-K teachers were given a 5-star rating based on the FOCUS program. So our other teachers are going to come in and be observed in April, and we are anticipating that they will also be given a 5-star rating. So I'm very excited about that with our preschoolers. Those little guys are what makes the world go around. They love everybody. So very cute. If you've probably seen on the news, the state of New Mexico is suing Google in a class action lawsuit. We are a Google reference district. We live, breathe, and eat Google. So we've been working very closely with the AG on this. And basically, their concern is that Google is tracking students' searches, different things like this. Not the first lawsuit that they have. Of course, Google is totally denying that this is happening. It'll take years in court, but the AG says, the district has done nothing wrong. They've done everything that we've needed to do and to keep using the product. And there's numerous school districts and charter schools across the state that are using it. So just so you know, we are on top of that. So we're making that happen. Our dual credit class that I've been working with Councilmember Holly on, we'll be having, what's the name of it? I can't ever remember. There's so many of them. You have it written down up there? There you go.
Explore high-demand careers?
Yes, exploring high-demand careers. We're doing our first field trip at First Choice at the end of March, and I even conned her into being a chaperone. So we will be going to First Choice and taking our students. We have about 27 of our high school students enrolled, so we're hoping that this is just the first step in that coursework pathway, working with CNM, and so again, I appreciate her continuing pressure, a nice gentle pressure on CNM with that. The only other thing that may be of interest is our school calendar has been adopted. We are going to be participating in the extended learning program with the New Mexico PED, so we're going to be extending students' days by 10 days and teachers' contracts by 6. So students will be attending 182 days and staff will be attending 190 days. So just for clarification, because there are questions, the raise that is being proposed from the legislature, the average 4%, that doesn't include giving them the extra days. They'll get their raise plus their daily rate for the extra 6 days. So if anybody asks, that's what's going on. So that's pretty much what we've got happening. Anything else? One of the other exciting things is it looks like that elementary PE is going to be fully funded this year, and so that has not happened in probably 15 years. So we're looking at bringing back certified PE teachers. I mean, the people we've had have done a wonderful job, but it'll be really nice to have certified teachers back in those positions. So.
How is it looking for the new buses?
Ooh, it's looking good. We haven't gotten them out on the road yet, but we have had training. They've driven around in them, checked them out, learned how to fuel them, and so we're really hoping, we annually subsidize our transportation anywhere from $70,000 to $140,000 a year out of our operational budget because we don't have enough in transportation. So we're hoping that with fuel cost from going from diesel to the propane buses, the maintenance of them is significantly lower, as well as the ease of maintenance and having the mechanics, et cetera. So I think that they were telling me the other day if you had to replace an engine in a propane bus versus a diesel, a propane bus engine may be $7,500 for a propane bus. This will be $2,500 or $25,000. So, a big difference in those. So we're looking forward to that. We we're piloting 8 this year. We have 12 that are aging out next year. So if we have good success with that, we will be moving forward with that. And the emissions is so much less. And, with all of kids with breathing problems, lung problems, we think that that'll be helpful as well.
Deal. Before you leave, Linda Burke has a presentation she'd like to make to you.
So Teresa was not able to attend our Thursday night mixer, and I saw that she was on the agenda. So normally this would have been done at the chamber. But each month we recognize a business in the community that's gone above and beyond. And for the month of January, we would like to recognize the Moriarty Edgewood School District for their exemplary approach to managing an extremely difficult situation with sensitivity and respect for all in the East Mountains and the Estancia Valley communities.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Teresa. Next item then is public comment on general matters. First person up is Jerry Powers.
Good evening. My name is Jerry Powers. I have a few comments, and Bryce Simons and Sabina Price have graciously agreed to donate their time for me. The first item I'd like to talk about is we're having a very difficult time. When I say we, several of the members of the core group, in getting information from the town under the Inspection of Public Records Act. We're entitled to that information by law. Just one example is I've asked 3 times for plans, drawings, and specifications regarding the Entrada del Norte paving project and have yet to receive those. I received a few pages of financial data on that project, but no drawings, no specifications of any kind. Under IPRA, you're entitled to, the only possible recourse is to sue the town, which we don't really want to do. But that's the only recourse under the Inspection of Public Records Act. And there are fines up to $100 a day for withholding information that the public is entitled to. So I would ask that the governing body give direction to the staff to open the doors and let us have the information that we're entitled to by law. Otherwise, we have no other option but to take the town to court. And I understand there have been several lawsuits where it has cost the town a lot of money under IPRA. So rather than waste time and money, we would ask that you just comply with the law. The other subject that I'd like to talk about is there seems to be an ongoing lack of clarity about what's happening with the EPCOR matter. There hasn't been any public information released on it in probably up to a year. I noticed that the Attorney General's office gave letter of direction that there can be no more closed sessions regarding any matter that isn't specifically delineated on the agendas. So hopefully we will see something forthcoming on the EPCOR matter, but our meeting on November 14th at Legacy Church, there was overwhelming disapproval of that. We're having another meeting, another public forum on March 12th, and of course you all are invited to come. There will be more discussion about the expansion of residential sewer, which is another subject matter where there seems to be overwhelming disapproval. So I would encourage you to attend and listen to the people that have come to those meetings and express their strong opinions about that subject. I noticed tonight on the agenda that I've never seen this before, where there are specific items delineated under Councilor Jaramillo and Abraham for discussion. Usually you see a separate discussion item for those if they want to have discussion. I've been to these meetings enough to have heard several times when some of the councilors would speak, it was articulated that these weren't discussions, that it was just for that particular councilor to speak. So I'm wondering if this is a change in policy, and if so, why it is, and why it's only for 2 of the councilors. It would seem like there should be equal treatment in the interest of fairness. So maybe we can hear from you all on why that is, rather than a separate matter or a separate discussion item. It also limits, apparently, what they can speak about. It tends to tell them what they can speak about, which also doesn't seem to be appropriate. So once again, I'd like to invite you to come to our March 12th meeting. It'll be at Legacy Church at 6 p.m. And I hope to see you there. Thanks.
Next person up is Karen Kaiser.
Good evening. In your packet tonight is the financial statement that I believe is for the month of January. And I just wanted to comment, and maybe y'all will choose to discuss it, that there's another $28,310 legal bill to Robles, Real, and Anaya. And that just seems, again, like a lot of money that y'all spend on legal fees. And I think if you closely followed the New Mexico state law and our town ordinances, you would save the town a whole lot of money. I wanted to thank Councilor Jaramillo for the Purple Heart honoring that she's bringing forth tonight. It sounds like a great idea. And I also wanted to thank her for honoring our great police department last meeting. She does a lot for the town, and I appreciate her service. I also wanted to make sure that you had your invitation to the meeting, but Jerry got it out there. You'll get a postcard because you live in Edgewood, but it gives Juan plenty of time to notice any possibility of a quorum. It's a unique opportunity to hear from hundreds of Edgewood residents, all of whom will be voting in the next election. and a good chance to kind of sit back and hear what the people have to say. I encourage you all to come. I think you'd enjoy it, and it would be insightful. Thanks.
Next person up is Linda Burke.
Good evening. I just wanted to bring everybody up to date on a bunch of business events that are coming up in the Edgewood community. A lot of members doing some great things for the community. First of all, the census is looking for workers, $16.50 an hour. That's pretty darn good for here in Edgewood. Obviously, short-term work through the end of July. I put flyers for all of this out in the front lobby if anyone wants more information. The Route 66 Arts Alliance is putting on not only a spring arts workshop for children and adults, but also doing their summer arts camp. So the spring one starts in March, the summer one is in July. SAS and Founders Ranch are once again doing their Notorious Nick Memorial Shotgun Match to raise money for Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. That'll be on May 2nd out at Founders Ranch. The Chamber is doing the Country Living and Lifestyles Expo on April 25th. That'll be at EVCA this year, and we anticipate having 65 to 75 vendors. We'll squeeze them in as much as we can make room for. Last year, we had over 600 people in the community in Albuquerque attend, so we are hoping that this is a good annual event. And one of our members, East Mountain Roofing, is decided to give away a free roof. And that winner will be announced at the Country Living and Lifestyles Expo. So if you know of anyone in the community that lives anywhere in the East Mountains that is in desperate need of a roof, they are looking to find 5 people to become finalists, and then they'll let the community vote on who they feel is the most deserving. And that will be awarded again at the Country Living and Lifestyles Expo on the 25th. So just wanted to bring you up to date on all of those good things happening here in Edgewood.
Thank you, Linda. Next up is Bryce Simons. That would then bring up Sabine Price. Got it. That done, we'll go to matters from the counselors. First up is Counselor Holly.
Well, Superintendent Salazar kind of stole my thunder about what's happening with the class, but that's fine. And all I have is just another reminder of the Community Garden Planning meeting. Again, it'll be coming up next week, Thursday, March 5th at 1 o'clock at the Senior Center. And as I explained last time, you don't need to be a senior to participate. So if you're itching to get your hands dirty, get on out there. That's all.
Thank you. Counselor Jaramillo.
First, I wanted to say thank you to Superintendent Salazar for being here faithfully and keeping us updated. I really appreciate the collaboration. It's great. And then also to Linda, thank you very much for all of your hard work, and pass it along to the Chamber as well. I just see a lot of activity and great things happening. And I'm really thrilled recently about the Discover Edgewood brochure that possibly will be approved tonight, the funding for that. I remember talking to you about Roswell's and seeing that when I was out there. And so ever since then, I just see them, and I think they're such a good tool to let other people learn about our great town. So I'm glad that you're undertaking that. I was very sad to hear about Bill Fulgenetti. I didn't realize I knew he had a heart attack, but I didn't realize he had passed away until just when you started, Mayor. And so my prayers will be with him and, of course, the family. And I was just talking at the Municipal Day to Carla and Tanya about how he is such a great advocate for municipalities and even the counties, too. And he will be missed. And really the word that comes to mind with him is irreplaceable. I also wanted to request an update on litigation. I know, I just want an update on litigation as soon as we can, and on EPCOR as well. And I think that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Go ahead with your Purple Heart thing.
Well, Mayor, did you have any questions for me, or
You handed this out at the last meeting, and I just give us some more of an idea of what it is you want to do here with this.
Okay. Yeah, so essentially, it's, again, like I said, to honor Purple Heart recipients in the area, in Edgewood and in the area. I know many have passed away, but there are still some here, or family members of. And so I just thought that it would be a really great honor to designate the town as a Purple Heart Trail city. What that entails is having the local chapter come and do a ceremony, and we get a nice sign to put out somewhere within the town. And then have family members and those Purple Heart recipients honored at that, and just be something brief at a council meeting, most likely, if we pass the proclamation, the resolution. So those were my thoughts.
My thought on it is it might be more appropriate to do this closer to either Memorial Day or Veterans Day. I'm just curious, I don't want it to sort of be turned into something that, self-serving for anybody. We've got cameras here all the time, and I know you mentioned, like Mr. McGill there, I don't have a problem with people like that, but, I mean, he has dropped a lawsuit on the town, and that's a little disconcerting for me to say, well, thanks for the lawsuit, now here's your big award or something. That just kind of didn't sit right with me. I don't take a back seat to anybody on my respect for veterans and stuff. I spent years with my mother, and then later on my own up at the cemetery putting out flags for veterans' graves and stuff. And but sometimes something just comes at the wrong time in the wrong place. But I don't have a problem even doing this, but like I say, when you mention that, I just is like, this is a little odd and weird. So that's kind of my thoughts on it.
I do understand that point, Mayor. I did want to ask you as well, though, why it was not under action, because usually if Councilor Abrams or Councilor Hawley brings something, you just go ahead and put it under action. And I would like to hear what the other councilors have to say and have a vote on it. The timing could be figured out.
Like I say, you just handed it out. I wanted to hear more about it from you before we take it up, but certainly the other councilors can speak to it.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I do want to say thank you, Councilor Jaramillo, for providing us something to look at. So I appreciate having that time, and I think it sounds like a good idea maybe to tie it to one of those holidays. Maybe Veterans Day would be better. So anyway, thank you for the hard copy for me to review.
Welcome.
Do you have any comments?
I want to say something.
Okay, well, after I saw the proclamation, I did go online and look at the National Purple Heart Trail Association, and so I ended up talking to somebody there, and he was telling me, he's like, oh, I know New Mexico. He's like, I don't know Edgewood so well. He's like, but there's a group that invites Purple Heart recipients up to Cimarron to go hunting elk. People donate their unused elk tags to Purple Heart veterans across the country. So they come to New Mexico, they get to see New Mexico, they get to hunt, and so this is more than just honoring a local person that has caused some grief to you. This is about the National Purple Heart Association. This is men and women from across all walks of life. And so, to me, Veterans Day and Memorial Day are about people who have given their life. This is about people who have maybe given a leg or an arm or their eyesight or their vision. This is about people who have been wounded and recovered. So I think they're two very different things. So Albuquerque is a Purple Heart Trail. When I started looking, I saw the sign. And so I think it would be an honor for our community. And so that's my comment.
Anything else? Otherwise, we move on.
So
Counselor
what-
Abrams?
I would have a very difficult time not getting emotional speaking about Purple Heart. Okay. In fact, even thinking about it gets me a little riled. I've got 3 of them in a box. Honoring the recipients of Purple Hearts it's a very, very honorable thing, and I definitely would like to do it. I don't know what time's a good time. There's never a good time. It's a proclamation. Those who've received it have received it, and they deserve the honor. I don't know what else to say. I don't know what else to say.
What date, Mayor, what date is Veterans Day? Do you know? Do you guys?
November
November
11th.
11th.
Oh, November. That's really far off.
I think we should make it a fun day, like during Cowboy Days or something. Something that recommends
Something to celebrate.
yeah.
Mr. Mayor, if I may?
Community.
Yes, sir.
We, as yet, I don't believe, have commemorated our Veterans Memorial over between the animal control and there has been
Yeah, we have one.
dedication there, but I think that this might go along with some sort of a process or some sort of an event along with that memorial. And I don't know exactly what the timing should be. I don't know, but I feel like they should somehow or another come
Might be a
together.
good thing to discuss with the judge.
And I think the whole idea is great. I'm aware of the Purple Heart Trail, and there are several other societies as well. But I just don't know. I don't know what to say except it kind of hurts.
Yeah, my uncle is no longer here either, so. So, shall we take a vote to put this on the next agenda for an action item?
No, I've heard you. Are you done, Counselor Abrams?
Yeah.
Counselor Abraham?
Okay, so I wanted to just touch base on the Personnel Policy Manual. It's been several years. We adopted this back in 2016. I know that I have asked a couple times for there to be some, we used to do like every other year, look at pay for our employees. I know we've got the budget process coming up soon. I would like us to, not only take a look at this and have counselors bring comments or concerns forward. There were a couple things I noticed when I looked through here, as far as like procedures for posting a position. Nowhere on here does it say we're going to list it with the Workforce Connection. I would like to be that included in there. It says casual labor can temporarily fill vacancies. If we're behind on, I know our council books, my council book is desperately in need of new tables of contents and those kind of things, just to make sure that they're complete and we're up to date. He said, when I talked to the Workforce Connection guy, he's like, oh yeah, we could send you somebody over to do temporary casual labor, do something like that. So I want us to look at that, some resources for if we're shorthanded and stuff like that. there were a couple other things when I was going through here. I noticed a section that talked about you had to go to the Human Resources Department. We don't have a Human Resources Department. I think it just maybe needs to have a new set of eyes and take a look at it. So that's why I asked that all of you guys have copies, take it home, think about it, come back, maybe next meeting or the one after that, and we can maybe have it on the agenda to make some updates. So that was that. And then I also would like to request, again, I requested at the last meeting, that we have a closed session and someone from our legal team to come and talk to us about some things that are going on in the community. I am very concerned. We've had some allegations that council should be doing something, and yet I have not been able to get any clarification on anything. So I again ask for someone from our legal team to be at the next meeting and request closed session on pending litigation, specifically the one that we just received, and also anything else. I know we've had some Open Meetings Act violations and stuff like that.
Counselor, did you get a copy of Juan's email on that
About,
from Friday?
I did.
Okay.
But that's still, we hire a firm, not a person.
They hadn't sorted out who's going to do what.
Right. So just, hopefully in the next, we've got 2 weeks now. I would really like to have that. I'm feeling concerned. Those are my comments for now.
Okay. Next item is matters from Clerk Treasurer, Mr. Torres.
Mayor and Council, so I got a couple issues I want to just bring to your attention. So first, one, don't panic. So we received notification from the IRS that they're going to be conducting an audit onto our 2018 payroll. I briefly spoke with the agent, and it's kind of just a compliance check. He said they're trying to hit most municipalities, or as many as they can, start kind of doing more of their outreach, making us aware of issues, proper documentation. But we're supposed to have our insurance conference on the 4th, so he'll meet us then and let us know, kind of what he's looking into, why he's looking into it, and what we need to do if there's any compliance issues, and then he'll kind of go from there. So that's the first issue. Second one, and I'm going to have Chief speak to this as well, is we've got a developing issue with RECC, our Dispatch Services Center. Chief and Jesus have been spending a lot of time going up there, trying to go back and forth, and just try and sum it up, and I'll let Chief speak more to it. They're rolling out a new CAD system, getting off of the old green screen AS400 type system. And in doing so, they're saying that we as the town are going to have to, one, go through CenturyLink because that's the only provider, and get on their Mo circuit. And basically what that would be a secure fiber connection from us all the way up to Santa Fe into dispatch. And then we would have, so that would be a monthly occurrence. So just on that itself, it could cost up to $30,000 for the connection into the building, and then an additional $1,000, so $12,000 a year for that service. And that's just connecting us to the new dispatch, not counting the equipment that we would have to provide and the licenses we would also have to provide. And I think the equipment is going to be about $5,000. Plus then we would still have to connect into, from our police units, into our system, which would then go through the Mo up to the dispatch and then connect into their system there. Currently, we're just connecting straight in through Santa Fe County, so to me, it doesn't make sense why we need to pay for this service when we're already paying for the dispatch service. All the taxpayers are paying for the service, and why we have to pony up an additional amount. Apparently, they've committed to this new software system. It's a 5-year contract. They're already 2 years into it and it hasn't been implemented yet. There was a process where they were going to force us on it. It was supposed to actually go live, and it got pushed back to June because even those, Santa Fe County and Santa Fe City weren't ready for it. And I believe Chief and Jesus went to a meeting, I want to say 6 to 8 months back. They showed up for the training, and they were turned away saying, no, don't worry about it, Edgewood. We've got you covered. And then, earlier this year, in January, then they go to a meeting and say, oh, by the way, Edgewood, you guys got to do all this. And if they're not ready and they've had all this time to prepare, we're definitely not ready. And the troubling part to me is if they flip that switch and we don't have this system online, the officers will no longer have access in their cars and their patrol units for it, and they'll have to do everything just over the radio, over the air.
Mr. Mayor, I have Christian Miley. He has came up and talked to you. Because he's having problems just even with the Santa Fe County getting them to recognize some of the areas that we have here. There seems to be maybe some disconnect between when a new house is built. It's not necessarily the address given to the emergency response team. Apparently, there was even an issue with, even though the fire department is right next door to First Choice called in, the fire department was sent somewhere different. It delayed the response. So my thought is, Mr. Miley's hope is that we could get a local dispatch process. Is this something that we could possibly look into that would be more efficient? And
So, Mayor, Council, I really wish we could, but state law, they had passed that state law several years back, which forced all the dispatches to regionalize. That's why we have the Regional Dispatch Center now. There were some exceptions, granted. I believe City of Albuquerque has its own, Bernalillo County has its own, but everyone else, for the most part, was all lumped into one.
what about going with Torrance counties?
That might be a potential we can look
That
into.
was something we discussed in the past.
But I'll let Chief kind of speak further on that topic.
Okay.
Mayor, council, and just so everybody knows what we're talking about when we're talking about the CAD and the green screens and all that good stuff, I saw a couple of faces out there, weren't sure what we were going over. So the CAD is the computer-aided dispatch in our cars. That's what prompts us and tells us basically where to go, who's in the residence, what the caller is advising dispatch, weapons in the residence, any hazards on the house, anything like that. So it gives a lot of information to the officers while they're en route to the call. They'll still be dispatched over the radio. Even if they flip the switch tomorrow, we'd still be dispatched. It's just we won't have all that information. So the problem right now is getting that information. So we're currently on, what's it called? Is it AS 400 or something system? AS 400. It's the green screen. It's a really outdated system. They stopped servicing that system. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jesus, he's been up there a couple of meetings with me, but they stopped servicing that system over a year ago. So if that system goes down, there's no patches for it anymore. So they want to modernize, get a new system in place, which we all agree to, but the problem is the old system, we were allowed to, and I'm not an IT guy, but we were allowed basically to go from our laptops in our car straight to dispatch off a license and through a VPN. I don't know how that works. I've got two that have been helping me here with that. But now the change is it goes from your car to our building, gets... Okay, yeah, so a site-to-site VPN from the building to RCC, so it just adds a few more steps. But we're now responsible to maintain that budget and that equipment at our building, at dispatch. If something goes down at dispatch, equipment-wise, from our understanding as well, Jesus has to go all the way up to Santa Fe to fix it. So it's no longer just maintaining our systems down here, we're maintaining a part of a system all the way up in Santa Fe. So we've asked the reasoning behind that, why we went from a site-to-site VPN to this new VPN circuit, or this MO circuit. And the concerns were cited as user
management, security issues, and backup issues.
Okay, so everybody that couldn't hear is user management, security issues, and bandwidth. So they didn't specify a whole lot on the security issues. Like I said, I'm not familiar with that, but I've been kind of picking the brain of Counselor and Jesus on that one. So I'll be leaning on them as far as that's concerned. User management, we understand that we're going to control our officers' usage of the system, things like that. We're just trying to get clarification from them why we can't, I mean, it sounds kind of petty, but it involves several $1,000s up to $42,000 to upgrade this system, why we can't just dial back into the building, or not dial, but VPN back into that building. So we understand that the system needs to be upgraded. We're not arguing that. We're just, I guess, having a hard time swallowing that pill of all this new equipment that we now have to get. Like Juan was saying, we don't have fiber optic in our building over there from CenturyLink. So we're going to have fiber optic even brought to our building. We don't even have the capabilities right now from CenturyLink. And we don't know where it's at, how far they're going to have to trench, how far they're going to have to do all that to put it in. And we can only go through CenturyLink, and then it connects in Albuquerque and then up. And then once we get it up to Santa Fe, then we have to put a firewall circuit, something up there as well. So it's just equipment on top of equipment on top of equipment, and bringing in basically infrastructure that the PD doesn't have. We have Plateau right now for our phones and our internet and everything that we have in the building now, so it works just fine, but now we have to bring additional resources into the building. So it's just caused a lot of confusion, and we found out the second week of January that we were pretty much on our own to bring it in. So every agency was told that it is up to them to maintain these Mohs circuits, these, these car site-to-sites, all that stuff. So every agency's picked it up. It's a little easier for an agency of 200 people to pick up a tab of $40,000 than it is for an agency of 10. So that's where we're having a hard time getting this project rolling. We don't want to leave the officers in the dark, and we realize we need to move forward, but I guess it's just a matter of where and how we move forward.
So Chief, you've got the fiber optic right along frontage road there, but is that Plateaus?
That's Plateaus from what I'm understanding, correct?
You're saying we got to bring in CenturyLinks?
So they're going to have to survey and see how far they would have to trench in to bring it.
Right, but yes, Mayor, Council, we would absolutely, in order for this to work, we would have to bring in CenturyLink specifically, because Plateau doesn't service up in Santa Fe, so we couldn't jump onto a Mohs circuit with Plateau currently. Also with that Mohs circuit, so it's just private, I guess to kind of explain it a little bit. So it's fiber optic cable, except for it's a private network, so it's not hooked up to the internet or anything. It would be a private cable from our PD to downtown, CenturyLink downtown to their data center, and then from there patched in up to Santa Fe. So security-wise, yes, it is that's a very secure link, but it's also a very costly link. Like I said, $1,000 a month for 20 megabits bandwidth. So it's very, very expensive, and very slow speeds.
It's real slow for that much.
Right now we pay, granted, we're paying for open internet on fiber, but still, we pay, roughly $100 for 100 megs with Plateau. So this is an additional expense we didn't anticipate, and just the fact that it's being kind of, here you go, Edgewood, you have to deal with it. I just felt that just with the dollar amount and what it means, we needed to bring it to your attention.
The other part of that is, just the citizens that have CenturyLink aren't very happy with it.
And just to let everybody know too, so currently the systems we have in the car right now, we run off a program provided by the sheriff's office. So we've asked the question why we cannot just continue that method. As we've been in existence, we've always used the sheriff's office VPNs and everything for their dispatch services. So the sheriff's office is separate from the dispatch center. They're two completely different funded entities. And the sheriff's office, with this new system, if they allowed us in on their VPNs, they're saying we would have access to all their reports, all their payroll, all their finances, and that it opens the door to their network within the county. And that's one of their biggest concerns. So I don't know the details about that, but that's their concern, is we would have access to their reports. And as an agency head, I understand it. I wouldn't want other agencies poking around our reports without our knowledge. And so I understand it to a certain point, but the security issues, I want to leave it to the professionals to figure that one out. And that's the gist of the reasoning we were given.
Well, Mayor and Chief, thank you for that update. And Juan, I'm just thinking, Counselor Abrams, maybe a discussion with the county would be helpful. I mean,
Oh, yeah, but
we,
I've got a feeling,
We've already put in a request to have some kind of summit with them, and that's going to be probably top of the list.
I mean, as much tax revenue as the taxpayers already pay for this system to the county, and then they already receive more than services that we receive back from the county, they should be willing to work with us. I mean, you know, with the small budget that we have, it seems like, you know, they should be able to absorb that. And then just what you're saying about how it would go into the sheriff's office, and then we would be able to access their information. I mean, my reaction, and I can see Counselor Abrams, is like, no, that's not true. They
That's
could
my
be,
reaction
you
too,
know,
but I don't.
It doesn't, yeah, so a lot of things just aren't making sense.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
having discussed this repeatedly with Juan and very briefly with the chief, and working with all the components as I do on a daily basis, I'm sort of flabbergasted with this entire thing. My gut feeling here and my most violent reaction to this thing is, how much do we pay these people on an annual basis?
$95,000.
$95,000 a year, and they can't give us a VPN connection, and they don't want to manage the security. Excuse the hell out of me. You know, come on. First of all, and I'm going to get a little technical here, but please bear with me. A point-to-point VPN, a point-to-point virtual private network, can be controlled through key material. Key material as in encrypted codes, with keys on both ends that unlock the encryption. That's how it's done in the real world. There is no user IDs and passwords. It is a very, very large encrypted piece of secure code. And that is placed on both ends, and that's what creates the private tunnel and encrypts the data. Why that's a management problem, I have no idea. I do it all the time. I have encryption keys that I use to get into my work, to do my work. I have encryption keys to get into various other things that I deal with on a regular basis. There's no user ID, there's no password. It's just a little bitty piece of code that I have to plug in. I have to carry a little fob around sometimes, but no big deal there. I have a family member who works for an organization that is highly secure, and she can work from anywhere with a little key fob and a little card. So why the police department and the regional communication center can't communicate has completely flabbergasted me. The other thing is any modern communications center, would not base emergency communications on a single point of failure. And that bothers me extremely, because a Mo circuit is a single point of failure. It's one pair of fiber optic cables dedicated from end to end, point to point. If a big yellow monster out there goes and digs a trench and breaks that cable, there goes your communications, and you've got nothing. You've got your radios, but all the rest of it's gone. And what did we just pay for, and how long is it going to take to fix? The last fiber break that I dealt with CenturyLink took 3 days to fix. Okay? So, I'm having a problem with this whole thing. And I've said this to Jesus, and I'm saying it publicly right now. I think there is something very, very wrong with our regional communication center, and I think somebody needs to set it straight. I don't know who that somebody is, but if I have anything to do with it, it will get set straight. And I'm very angry about this whole thing, so I'm going to back off quietly.
We're going to try to, like I say, set up a meeting with them and tear into it. That agreement from many years ago has been a long-standing problem. The way it's set up, it's biased against Edgewood, and we need to bring that to an end somehow or another. Anything else, Mr. Torres?
Mayor, Council, that's it.
I do have a question, Mayor, for Mr. Torres.
Go ahead.
I emailed, but did you find the policy for the donated property?
Yes, Mayor, Council, I sent you an email back, so, that's one that would just fell off the radar. We'll get a policy back. We'll get something for in March for you guys to look at, review, and potentially take action on.
Okay, thank you.
In matters from the mayor, I have just one item tonight. Council, Karina Christensen has tendered her 2-week notice, so we'll be looking for a new Parks and Rec administrator. Moving on into action items. The first one up is discussion, consideration, action on the funding recommendation of the Lodgers Tax Advisory Board. Mr. Torres, you want to take us through this?
Yeah,
Mayor, just real quick. I did want to recuse myself from this, just because under the Governmental Conduct Act and Code of Ethics, I do not have an actual conflict, but an appearance of a conflict of interest. This is lodger's tax, right? We're at that part? Yeah. So I'm going to step out while you all discuss and vote, and then you can just bring me back in.
Okay.
Thank you.
I also had a question. Are we going to do these individually, or are we going to do just one? Because if we do them individually, my conflict only is with Wildlife West, because my husband works there 3 days a week. So if we're going to do it individually, I can vote on the others. If we're going to do it as a lump, I probably need to step out as well.
What's your preference, council? You want to look at them individually or just as a lump sum?
A whole heck of a bunch of difference, I don't think.
Okay, well, let's look at them then one at a time, and she can get out. Let's do the first two and the last two, and then she can leave while we discuss the other one.
It's like a plan.
So the first one then would be the Greater Edgewood Chamber of Commerce, and they've got the Discover Edgewood brochure, Country Living Expo, Cowboy Days General, and the recommended award is $12,200. So if we're going to do them individually,
I make a motion that
Yeah.
we approve the $12,200 to the Edgewood Chamber of Commerce to fund a Discover Edgewood brochure, Country Living Expo, Cowboy Days, and general events, I guess.
Second.
Needed.
motion's been made and seconded to approve the $12,200 award to the Greater Edgewood Chamber of Commerce. Do a roll call vote here. Counselor Abraham,
Aye.
Counselor Abrams,
Aye.
and Counselor Holly.
Aye.
Next one would be the Route 66 Art Alliance. Their award would be in the amount of $1,000 for the 4th of July Music and Arts Festival.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the Route 66 Art Alliance $1,000 for the 4th of July Music and Arts Festival.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the award of $1,000 for the Route 66 Art Alliance on the 4th of July Music and Arts Festival. Counselor Holly,
Aye.
Counselor Abrams,
Aye.
and Counselor Abraham.
Aye.
Next one is TJR Promotions, and the award is in the amount of $250 for the Rods and Brews Car Show.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, sir.
I make a motion to approve the $250 for the Rods and Brews Car Show. I'd also like to include in this motion the second request for TJR Promotions for
both same.
$250 for the Father's Day Car Show.
I'll second.
Okay, so we've got a motion then to approve both of those last two there to TJR Promotions. First one for Rods and Brews Car Show, and then the second one for Father's Day Car Show. Start in the middle, Counselor Abrams,
Aye.
Counselor Abraham,
Aye.
and Counselor Holly.
Aye.
Okay. And the last one then is the award to Wildlife West for the Kite Festival, Chuck Wagon Wildlife Festival, and the Dirty Dash, and it's in the amount of $5,000.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to go and get dirty in the Dirty Dash and approve the $5,000 to Wildlife West for the Kite Festival, Chuckwagon Wildlife Festival, and the Dirty Dash.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded to approve the $5,000 award to Wildlife West for the Kite Festival, Chuckwagon Wildlife Festival, and the Dirty Dash. Counselor Holly?
Aye.
Counselor Abrams?
Aye. Got 2 out of 4, so.
2 out of the 3. There's no ties, so it
Okay.
passes. I just wanted to mention, thank you, council, by the way, but I wanted to mention, or thank Juan and Carla for the work here with the lodger's tax. That, I know when we started this out, we got some grief and people were leery of it and stuff like that, but basically tonight, that's roughly $18,700 more or less going out. And it's not costing us any heartburn or anything of violating anti-donation or getting us any audit findings. And really, you guys, Juan, you and Carla, have done an outstanding job with this Lodgers Tax Board. And I'd also give kudos to the members of that board, Jeremiah and his crew there. They've done a good job of getting together and working on this, so thank you all. The next item then is the discussion, consideration, action on approving the financial report for the month of January 2020. Mr. Torres?
Mayor, Council, so real quick, I want to kind of jump to the actual council report, and I just want to see if that's okay. So I didn't know which date to choose. I wasn't excited. I wasn't at the last meeting, but I know you said you wanted the date on there, so I just chose the check date. And so if you'll see on some of them, like you kind of go down the list, and you've got Aflac, and the date's 2/17/20. That was actually a payroll that occurred, 2 payrolls that occurred in January, but the invoice didn't come in, so that's why there might be some different dates. But these are still all the the purchases, the expenditures from the month of January. So it's all going to be for that month, but there might be some different dates on the check date, and it's going to be mainly with respect to the payroll items. And then since we're on that report, just kind of going through it, so there was a expenditure for EPCOR water, and we finally got to the bottom of it. It's on, excuse me, on page 4. So for the one titled Community Center, $917. So there was a leak in the main line, and it was underneath the basketball court. So it was one where we couldn't see the water, we couldn't see what was going on. I had James out there trying to figure it out. Initially, on the actual invoice, it stated the fire station, so we were initially poking around at the police department, got a hold of EPCOR, they came out and got us straight on which meter it was, then started looking, couldn't find it, ended up shutting off at the meter, and then James just kind of traced the line, and it was the old really black poly tube.
Yeah.
And there was just a break underneath there, and I think for this month, it was, I want to say, around 110,000 gallons that had leaked out underneath the basketball court, but we just weren't seeing where the water was at. But that's since been identified and fixed.
I have a question on page number 3. There's something there for $500. What is that? To Demolay?
DeMolay?
Yeah, Amanda Henry. Who is that?
Yes, Mayor Council, that is the Demolays, and so that's what we paid them for helping us for the Christmas tree lighting, and all, and stuffing the Illuminatias, getting everything set up, and then helping with all the surfing.
Then I did notice a payment to Harshwall. Was that the 69% or 90% of the audit fees on page 4?
Mayor Council, I believe it is the 90%, but I will get back to you and shoot you an email and let you know which one that one is.
Okay. I don't believe it's released yet, is it?
No, Mayor Council, we are still waiting. We received some information from the state auditor, so we've been in correspondence, and we'll, as soon as it's available, we'll bring it forth. So moving over to the GRT, it was a good December. It was, it was up from last year. Last year, this time, we're at 447,112. This year, we're at 474,726. And that's also with construction being significantly lower. So this is mainly the retail trade and the Christmas shopping that was really high.
Can we go back to, there's a TLC plumbing there, a sewer tap for $3,776?
Yes,
That.
Mayor Council, so that was the connection, the residential connection that was made. And so that was one where the stub out was not put in place because that was for a later phase, and that was where the residents opted and asked us to put in, so we actually had to put the stub out across the road into their property, and that's where they made the connection.
So do they pay us then for that?
Yes, they'll pay their connection fee for it.
So the connection fee is how much?
Mayor Council, I don't recall off the top of my head. There's a application fee, a tap fee, and then a usage fee based off of their ERUs. And I don't recall what it is for the residential, what that fee is for them.
Okay, can you bring that to the next meeting? And then, I know at one point, we had decided not to have an attorney at a meeting every month. We had changed that to save on attorney fees. But I'm wondering if maybe we need to rethink that, because we're really racking up some attorney fees. I don't think it would cost $28,000 to have them here once a month.
Mayor Council, that's at your pleasure.
Okay, I would like us to talk about that in the near future.
Questions, I'll entertain a motion on the financial report.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make a motion to approve the financial report for the month of January 2020.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded to approve the financial report for the month of January 2020. Do a roll call vote. Counselor Holly?
Aye.
Counselor Abrams?
Aye.
Counselor Abraham?
Aye.
And Counselor Jaramillo?
Aye.
Counsel? Next item is a closed session. As per motion and roll call vote pursuant to NMSA 1978, Section 1015-1H8, the following will be discussed in closed session: purchase, acquisition, or disposal of real property or water rights, specifically sale of the town-owned building at 1911 Historic Route 66, Edgewood, New Mexico. I'll take a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to go into closed session pursuant of NMSA 1978, Section 1015-1H8, to discuss the purchase, acquisition, or disposal of real property, specifically the sale of the town-owned building at 1911 Historic Route 66.
Second.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to go into closed session to discuss the acquisition or disposal of real property or water rights, specifically the sale of the town-owned building in 1911 Historic Route 66, Edgewood, New Mexico. Do a roll call vote. Start down there. Counselor Jaramillo?
Aye.
Counselor Abraham?
Aye.
Counselor Abrams?
Aye.
And Counselor Holly?
Aye.
We're in closed session. Okay, let's get back from closed session, and I'll entertain a motion to go back into open session.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to come back into open session. In closed session, only the agenda item was discussed, the purchase, acquisition, or disposal of real property or water rights, specifically the sale of the town building owned by the town at 1911 Historic Route 66, and nothing else. no decisions were made.
We got a second on that?
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to come back into open session. As Counselor Abrams put in his motion, the only item discussed was the disposal of real property or water rights, specifically the sale of the town-owned building at 1911 Historic Route 66, and he affirmed that nothing else was discussed. So let's do a roll call vote. Start there, Counselor Abrams,
Aye?
Counselor Abraham,
Aye.
Counselor Jaramillo,
Aye.
Counselor Holly.
Aye.
Okay, now we're back in the closed an open session. The affirmation, you want to do that one?
Sure. Mr. Mayor, I affirm that the only item discussed was the item on the agenda in the closed session and no other item, and no decisions were made in closed session.
No conflicts, right?
No.
That's where we do the conflicts?
No, it's just an affirmation of what was discussed in closed session.
I also confirm that the only thing that was discussed was the purchase, acquisition, or disposal of real property, the town-owned building at 1911 Historic Route 66, Edgewood, New Mexico, and no decisions were made.
Counselor Jaramillo,
I affirm the same.
Counselor Holly,
I so affirm.
and as for the mayor, I so affirm also. Next item then is calendar review, and our next meeting would be March 11th. 2 weeks from today. And as we discussed, a time for maybe a special meeting. Would Monday afternoon work?
What day?
Second? Oh,
Second? That's not
Second.
Monday, is it?
Monday.
Oh, it is Monday, yeah.
That's not going to work for me. How about Tuesday
What time?
What time?
afternoon?
It'll have to be after 3 o'clock for me.
Okay.
That works.
I may have to attend via phone, but,
I know I will.
That's what we've been figuring, but
so that would be Tuesday, March 3rd,
yep.
3 PM?
3 p.m. work for everybody?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Special meeting.
That way we-
No. Mayor, if we could this is outside the box, but if we have council by then, would it be possible to get an update for them or guidance from them at that meeting as well?
On what?
Well,
You wouldn't have council here, it would just be a action.
Yeah, just one action item to call for the hearing on the,
right. I was just thinking since we're a meeting, and we do need to hear from legal counsel.
Yeah, but then I can't, if that's the case, I can't call in and participate in a
Yeah.
special closed session.
Well, it doesn't have to be at that time,
Well, I mean, but
but, yeah.
I pick up granddaughters every day. So,
we will endeavor to have somebody here probably on the 11th.
okay,
Okay.
thank you.
Next item is adjournment, and I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Time is
They weren't close to that. Once we were.
Did you say?